Goalkeepers aren't given enough credit in football, so let's put a spotlight on 50 of the best saves for once. Number 1. Gordon Banks vs. Pele. Saving a shot from the greatest striker to ever live is a story Gordon Banks would have told his grandchildren. And if the save looked like this, why wouldn't he? Number 2. Casillas vs. Robin. Most of you guys don't even know who Banks was. Well, you definitely know about Casillas. And this save he pulled off against Arjen Robben in 2010 was probably the reason they took the World Cup home. Number 3. Buffon vs. Germany. Speaking of Casillas, this next keeper was one of Iker's best friends. Buffon came up with this gem against Germany, and even the Italians couldn't believe what just happened. Number 4. Neuer vs. Lewandowski. If there was ever a save worth a trophy, it was this one. Literally, it looked like a simple save, but if Neuer messed that up, Dortmund would have won that UCL final. Number 5. Edwin van der Sar vs. Anelka. Speaking of winning the UCL finals, Van der Sar cemented his place in the Manchester United Hall of Fame with this penalty save to win United in the 2008 Champions League. Number 6. Peter Schmeichel vs. Campbell. From one United keeper to the other, Peter Schmeichel shocked everyone when he made this save. Campbell had everything in his favor, but the Great Dane had other ideas. How did he even reach that? Number 7. Petr Cech vs. Liverpool. And if that's unreal, check this out. With Petr Cech, it's not over until the entire ball crosses the line. This save in the FA Cup final was jaw-dropping. Number 8. Hugo Lloris vs. Germany. But it's not as cool as playing for your country and keeping your entire nation in the tie. This save by Hugo Lloris made all of France breathe a huge sigh of relief. Number 9. Alisson Becker vs. Napoli. But it wasn't as good as this save by Alisson Becker. From point blank to keep Liverpool in the UCL that season. And believe it or not, Liverpool went on to win it. Imagine if that went in. And Liverpool went crashing out. Number 10. Courtois vs. Maine. But if Liverpool have had memorable moments in the UCL, they've also had horrible ones. For the time, Thibaut Courtois decided to become a brick wall instead of a keeper. Number 11. Courtois vs. Salah. And if that wasn't enough, he did this against Salah in the same UCL final. This guy single-handedly won Real Madrid the Champions League that day. Number 12. Oliver Kahn vs. Valencia. And Courtois isn't the only player who somehow pulled it out of the bag in a UCL final. Oliver Kahn was on another planet against Valencia that day and took Bayern to Champions League glory. Number 13. Dudek vs. AC Milan. But the best performance in a Champions League final has to go to Jerzy Dudek. This double save was necessary to keep Liverpool in the tie, and without Dudek, the miracle of Istanbul would have stayed a mere dream. Number 14. Julio César vs. Leo Messi. But that's not as impressive as pulling off a save against the GOAT. Not a lot of keepers can flex about that, but Julio César has quite a lot of players on his list of players denied. Number 15. Victor Valdez vs. Chelsea. This one, though, is more funny than impressive. Victor Valdez was just walking backward to his line and almost conceded, but he realized quickly enough and got down to make the save. Almost turned into a meme there. Number 16. Ter Stegen vs. Athletic Bilbao. But the guy who replaced Victor Valdez will never be a meme because this guy's rock solid. Number 17. De Gea vs. Everton. Over in England, David De Gea was so good at the peak of his powers in season 14 and 15, and this insane save was just average for the guy. Number 18. Ederson vs. Liverpool. But it wasn't as good as the other Manchester club's keeper, because this save probably won City the Premier League. Saving a goal against Liverpool is twice as important. Number 19. Wojciech Szczesny vs. Atletico Madrid. But it wasn't as important as this save, because it kept Juventus in the Champions League. And let's face it, it was much better than the last one. Number 20. Keylor Navas vs. Atalanta. But when it comes to reactions, Keylor Navas pulled off this blinder of a save and kept it up with the next one as well. Insane! Number 21. Buffon vs. Roberto Carlos. But even with those reflexes, Navas would have struggled with saving this. Buffon's probably the only keeper who could save this rocket, and only just too. Number 22. Van der Sar vs. Bolton. But at least he could see that coming, because Van der Sar saw this one at the last moment and still reached it. Number 23. Julio César vs. Ronaldinho. Let's add Ronaldinho to the list of players Julio César's denied. This guy's the attacker's nightmare. Number 24. Courtois versus Atletico. But not Atletico's nightmare, because that would be Courtois. Check this out. Number 25. Courtois versus Atletico. And it doesn't stop there. He even saved this. Number 26. Kasper Schmeichel versus Sevilla. This one might seem simple, but facing a striker from 12 yards out and stopping him from scoring is much more difficult than any of these long-range saves. Number 27. Ederson Moraes versus Tottenham Hotspur. But penalties aren't as impressive as the consistency Ederson showed in that performance in the UCL final. He was on fire that day. Number 28. Alisson Becker versus Manchester City. And yet, Ederson still isn't the best Brazilian keeper. That would be this guy. Alisson Becker's something else, man. Number 29. Hugo Lloris versus Crystal Palace. But that wasn't as close as this save from Hugo Lloris. That was struck so hard that the best Lloris could do was push it onto the post. Number 30. Marc-Andre ter Stegen versus Atletico Madrid. But when you think of a keeper, you see him flying around, not scarping shots off the ground. Ter Stegen's got the right idea. Number 31. Manuel Neuer versus Atletico Madrid. And to think he isn't the best German keeper, Neuer's so confident he doesn't even need to use his hands. Number 32. Thibaut Courtois versus Barcelona. But a save in the El Clasico is a flex on its own. And Courtois could flex for days because this save was insane. Number 33. Ederson Moraes versus Liverpool. Now though, there's a new El Clasico in town, and Ederson's always on fire whenever Man City meets Liverpool. Number 34. Mike Maignan versus Atalanta. But Ederson has never saved a penalty against Liverpool. Maignan has though, and what a save it was. Number 35. Jordan Pickford versus Colombia. Maybe Salah could have done better there, but there was nothing wrong with this next shot. It was headed right into the top corner, but Pickford just managed to get there. Number 36. David Seaman versus Sheffield United. But it wasn't as clutch as this classic. How did he pull the ball away from the goal like that? He must have had glue on those gloves or something. Number 37. Brad Friedel versus Liverpool. Do you know what's better than saving a penalty? Saving two! Brad Friedel was a monster between the sticks. Number 38. Tim Howard versus Belgium. But saving penalties isn't the same as this double save by Tim Howard. Number 39. Hugo Lloris versus Germany. Lloris has been saving French bacon for decades now, but this save against Germany was something else. Number 40. Samir Handanovic versus Roma. But this goal wouldn't have been the goal of the season if not for Handanovic. Number 41. Peter Schmeichel versus Rapid Vienna. Handanovic isn't as good as Peter Schmeichel though. Look at how quickly he reacted there. Number 42. Edwin van der Sar versus Lille. Speaking of legendary Premier League goalies, Edwin van der Sar isn't far behind with this great save against Lille. Number 43. Iker Casillas versus Bayern Munich. But van der Sar isn't as big of a legend as Iker Casillas, and this save is just one of Casillas' many. Number 44. Gianluigi Buffon versus Barcelona. If there's anyone equal to Casillas in terms of legendary status, it's this guy. He knew where Iniesta would shoot before he even took the shot on. Number 45. Hugo Lloris versus Manchester United. I think Lloris channeled his inner Buffon for this one. Number 46. Alisson Becker versus Barcelona. But this save by Alisson Becker won Liverpool the Champions League. Remember that 4-0 win against Barcelona at Anfield? It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Alisson. Number 47. Alisson versus Arsenal. That save meant a lot, but it wasn't as impossible as this one against Arsenal. Number 48. Ederson Moraes versus Leicester City. And Alisson kinda has to pull these saves off because his counterpart Ederson Moraes is always at the top of his game. He could save shots like these in his sleep. Number 49. Marc-Andre ter Stegen versus Bayern Munich. This save by ter Stegen, though, defied physics, and it kinda reminds me of another German keeper who did it even better. Number 50. Manuel Neuer versus Werder Bremen. This one's my personal favorite. Even Ronaldo couldn't believe in Neuer's strength there. Goalkeeper saves aren't as satisfying as some of the legendary moments in this next video. Make sure you give it a watch as well, and I'll see you there.